Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. An absolutely fantastic book. I was very much astounded and overwhelmed. Well, the title reminded me of Alice in Wonderland, just the fact that it's curious. And I think that we're taken down a rabbit hole of his own mind, because here I am introduced to something completely unknown to me. I didn't even know that he had autism until second page in, when he talks of that he can't deal with, or doesn't understand human emotion, and he places diagrams in there, pictures to help us understand. And I thought, how interesting to be able to see something from this point of view. I even asked myself, could it be true? Well written. And okay, I'll continue with the in-class discussions and the theory related to that, because otherwise I'll say too much. In-class discussion was on, as far as I know, because I wasn't there, on crossover books, and the fact that these books appeal to, or are written for, this book wasn't written for both worlds, but can it be appealed to adults as well as young adults, so adolescents or children, like Harry Potter, and if you ask me, like Alice in Wonderland, could also be considered a crossover book? Right. How is this book? How does this book relate to the theory? How is this book made a crossover book? Well, there are several things. The fact is that it's made accessible to both age groups. So it's made accessible to adolescents in the sense that his reality, it's real enough. It's completely unreal for us. I mean, we don't know what it's like to be this sort of a person and to see out of these eyes, a completely new perspective. So it's an unknown world, yet it's very much based in a real world with situations that we're all used to. So, for instance, his father lying, or him having to take the metro, his mother's reaction, his parents and divorces and adultery, these sort of things. And what makes it fantastic is the fact that we are confronted with innocence, real innocence. And yet, we fill in the blanks. He's innocent, but he's not. Okay, well, we fill in the blanks in the sense of he doesn't understand the situation. So when he gets told that his dad killed a dog and his dad lied to him, he goes into some sort of shock. A shock so much so that he normally doesn't allow people to touch him, but now his dad can undress him and touch him, and so forth. He doesn't understand the situation, but we do. We can understand how people can react this way, especially as adults having our own experiences, rather than young adults still having the need to experience these things. However, it can be real to some adolescents. This reality can be real for them, in the sense parents divorcing, parents lying to them. Indeed. Another aspect that makes this book appealing to both young and old, well, for young adults, they have to deal with leaving their parents. They have to deal with a fearful world, just like he does. He leaves his father to go find his mother, and he has to face a very frightening world. So for young adults, they can relate this way in the sense that, it is frightening out there, and you do have to face your fears. As an adult, you can see the emotion that lies within it, the emotion of the parents, the emotion of the child. We can fill in the blanks, maybe why he acts this way. Maybe not to understand his world, but maybe in a logical sense. He makes that quite clear to us, and we can see the underlying beauty maybe of his reactions and the effects that it has, the beauty within that. Another thing that applies to both adults and adolescents is the fact that, not so much so for adults, but adolescents have to deal with identity, just like the main character has to deal with his identity. Yet the difference lies in adolescents. They actually make up their own audience to have to face and reflect off of. They are dealing with creating their identity and who they are in relation to their friends, their family, the world. He doesn't really have this. He doesn't really care what other people think of him because he is so encapsulated in his own mind. He doesn't really care how other people see him, and that makes him unique and different. He doesn't feel isolated, you know. So this can be something for adolescents to learn. You see, they can actually they can actually learn somebody else's viewpoint on this. As adults, we learn somebody who has autism. We learn how they see the world. We learn how their parents deal with it. Maybe it relates to some of us who deal with children who are rebellious, but it's new for us. So we gain an experience that way. We see the value we can see the value in roles like parents to children, the value in his outlook on life and the things that he finds important in life. For instance, his A-level exams, you know. And another aspect are the different themes. There are many themes in this book, but it's very interesting how there's this theme of truth. So, for instance, we think that and now Stephanie's words are coming, is he a reliable source? You know, we think he's a reliable source, at least I did, because he says, I tell no lies, and he gets very frightened of other people and their imagination. That's why he thinks novels are lies, because it's based on something that does not exist, which is our imagination, you know. So he says this, yet on the same token, he lies. I mean, let's face it, he doesn't call it that, and he calls it a white lie, but he does lie. He does bend the truth in such a way where he can lie. So who is to say that he's not lying to us? How much of the truth has he bent in order to write this book? Is there a difference as, you know, him being who he is and him taking the form of a writer? Okay, that's the questions I had. Lots of contradictions in the book. Children do face contradictions in life. I mean, we have to deal with adult rules, and adults do face contradiction in real life as well. So that's appealing to both worlds. He also deals with big questions, and I think young adults deal with big questions in life. I mean, it's heavy laden. The meaning of life, why? You know, they have to gain experience and pose this question against their experience and against the real world, and then come to their own conclusion and their own purpose and their own questions and their own answers. I don't feel drawn this way anymore, I have to say. Yet, you know, he does bring up the question of the universe and God, and he brings it in such a logical way, completely dismissing the idea of God, because it just doesn't exist. I mean, there's nothing else that exists outside the universe. And children might take this at a very upper level thing, whereas adults might see it as, you know, God being all-encompassing universe, for instance. That is the God that exists. But okay, those are higher level questions. And I don't really see myself being that enthralled by this, but I can imagine that, for instance, my neighbor's daughter could well be. So there's a difference, but it appeals to both, you know. The theme of reality, his perspective of adolescents, perspective of adults. I mean, we bring into this book, and we can add to this book in both ways, as young adults and as adults, in the sense of what I said before. To reiterate, you know, his reality is different to ours, yet we can fill in the blanks for his reality. That's beauty. The age groups, the age suitability, I'd say, I don't know, 12 and onwards. Again, you get out what you bring, what you can get out in a book. So, you know, somebody who's 12 might take it very upper level, and yeah, take it no more than reading this and a few themes, you know, about his reality and his identity and his having to deal with fears. And then you have higher level students or older students who might see the different nuances within it, you know. So his ideas of the logic behind prime numbers and why he believes it to be it's logical, and that's what life is. You know, they might bring in their own questions of life and what it means, and logic, and how, and what it means there in relation to God, and what it means there and the universe, and so on and so on. And as adults, we can bring in our experience already, our knowledge, our ideas. We've come to those questions, I think. We bring in our our practical side in it. I think we're enchanted by his mind and his reaction and the simplicity and the innocence of it. And that's basically all I have to say on this book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think others will as well. And I'm glad there are books out there that can reach out to both worlds. I think as an adult you'd have to reach into the world as well. You know, I don't know if children can't do that yet. So there is a distinction, but it's nice that the category does exist of crossover books. Thank you very much.